All right, mate. So step number one, we need to get a thumbnail. So act like you just watched some guy crash so hard his leg was popping out. All right, welcome back to Reacting to Crash Videos Part 3. If you missed Part 2 or 1, go back and watch those episodes. I did press record, right?
I hope so.
I think I did. In this episode, we are joined with my wonderful co-host, Jacqueline. Jacqueline, what's your favorite color?
You can't just put me on the spot like that.
Oh, God.
Orange.
Good call. That's a nice color. So as always with this series, our goal is not to make fun of people and laugh at them, but to look at crash videos and learn something from it and kind of debunk some crash videos that go around where people are just like, well, that paramotor fell out of the sky. But really, there's certain things that we can see and avoid in the future to not do things like that. Before we get into it, I wanna remind you guys that right now we're offering limited edition t-shirts that Jacqueline here is wearing. We've got the Fly or Die and the Summertime Gradient Risky Biscuits going on. These are limited edition, and better than that, any purchase made before July 13th gets you in a drawing to win free training with Aviator PPG. They are a premier school in Lake Wales, Florida. It's where I learned how to fly. It's an insane opportunity. Check the full contest rules down in the description. Along with the second link in the description, you have to fill out that form to get fully entered. It's gonna be awesome to give away training. Make sure you get an order in before July 13th to be entered to win. All right, so let's get into it. First up, we're gonna look at some towing incidents. So let's just play the clip and we'll talk about it.
Oh my god! Oh my god! Oh my god, that's so bad!
Yeah. So
Is he alive?
I believe so. I think we would know if he wasn't.
Oh my god.
But you see the dude on the snowmobile freaking flip?
I didn't look at him at all, to be honest.
Okay, just watch the dude on the snowmobile. He's like, "Run, run," falls over. So towing. Towing can be very dangerous and it can be safe depending on how you do it. So the redneck style of tying a 50-foot rope behind your ATV, snowmobile, or pickup truck and flooring it is not the way to do towing. So the right way to do towing is with a certified tow operator on a winch and multiple safeties, multiple communication points, and a trained professional that knows what they're doing. This clip is from the perspective of the pilot, and same situation. They've got a short length of rope tied to a vehicle and they're just going for it, and they experience lockout.
This already looks bad. Oh, it's already started. Oh my god.
His poor pitiful cry.
I know. I thought he was gonna hit one of those planes, to be honest.
Yeah, so the concept here is lockout. That's what's happening, and that's what you never want to happen. And the whole thing is that you want to stay perfectly aligned with the direction of the vehicle, obviously. But what you'll find is there's a point of no return. As you start drifting off to the side, at some point you can't get back centered. No matter how much brake you pull and weight shift you add, it's just the physics of what's going on. It just locks you out to the side. And your only option is to cut away, and hopefully you have a way to cut away. If you just tied a knot, you're kind of screwed. As you get locked out, the only thing to do would be to cut away, or for the tow operator to realize what's going wrong and to cut away on their end or slow the vehicle. Generally, you don't even want to get into that situation in the first place. And another one, and this is from my good friend from Charlie Soap, James Sutherland.
Oh no.
Oh my goodness.
That was really bad.
What even happened? They lost a riser.
Yeah, so in this case, This guy apparently didn't have any training. They were going redneck style with a rope and an ATV, and he didn't have a paragliding harness. He was using a climbing harness, which I often see people ask about, like, can I kite with this? And some people do, but they're apparently, well, obviously not flight rated. And apparently in this situation, his climbing harness actually failed and jettisoned one riser, and then he legit just fell with half a wing in streamer format.
From like 50 feet.
Yeah, and it goes on to show pictures of the surgery and his recovery, and this poor guy, I think in the end it was a happy ending, and he went on to get proper training and recovered fully and then flew. Yeah.
These just like, they hurt to watch.
Yeah, it hurts to watch, but I hope that by sharing these and discussing it, we can at least prevent someone from trying this, because it just seems like such a tempting thing. It's like, oh, Billy's got an ATV, we got 60 feet of rope, let's just go for it. On to the next video. This one's not really a crash per se. It was almost a crash, but it drives home a point that I've discussed before. When we go beach flying, I often talk about, like, it's really fun to fly low and slow on the waves, but one thing you have to watch out for is fishermen, because obviously they just sit on the beach with their lines cast out, and if you catch their line, that's a bad situation. So look at this guy. This is from Mr. Bob the Pilot.
Did you hear that?
Yeah. Look, fishing line. He's towing the whole rod.
I'm gonna go with the prop.
So, breakdown of this event. Bob the Pilot, obviously he knew he messed up. He was flying way too close to these guys and caught their fishing line, and he was very apologetic about it. But throughout the whole event, you could see his focus was pretty distracted, and he did a good job of keeping it together, although he almost freaking crashed into that palm tree, and then he almost
went in the water.
Yeah, slammed it right in the water. So the whole thing we've talked about before in this series is, if something's going wrong, your main priority is to just fly the craft. Don't kind of get distracted on other situations. Number one priority is fly the craft, which he did. But you could see he had a couple close calls on the way down. Somehow he nailed like a perfect landing on that tiny beach. But the main point of this whole video was just, when flying on the beach, watch out for fishermen, because you could end up in a situation like this. Final video to analyze in this series is from Mr. Blake Pigeon. He's an experienced pilot, it seems, and he's flying around and he has a mechanical failure. What happens is his throttle cable is probably on the longer side and his netting is kind of inadequate on the paramotor he's flying. What happens is, somewhere along the line, his throttle cable goes into his propeller, which severs his control to his throttle, and he has to make an emergency crash landing. Dude, man, unclips, walks away, and what's the first thing he does?
Oh my God.
He's like, I'm about to post this up on Paramotor Facebook page. Y'all would not believe what just happened. All right, so what's your first reaction to that situation?
Well, I feel like he had the right idea with, he wasn't flying too high, so he heard that something went wrong, and he just immediately reacted and turned around to go back toward the field and not toward the trees. But he definitely could have, like, landed the glider.
Yeah.
And not dug up the dirt.
Yeah, and tumbled. Very good point. So there's two things that I take from this whole situation. First off, making sure that your throttle cable isn't too long, that when you move your arm around, it can bend and go back into your propeller. That's problem number one. And two being that you have proper coverage of netting. A lot of guys will add some zip ties or some paracord to their netting to block exactly that, the throttle cable getting into the propeller. The second thing is exactly what you were saying. Like we said before, number one priority when something goes wrong is fly the craft. And in some of his comments on this video, he said what he was actually trying to do throughout the whole thing was, obviously it severed his throttle control, but not only that, it severed his kill switch. And his mind went to, I have a secondary kill switch on my motor, and that's what he was doing once he got turned
distracted.
around. Yeah, so he was trying to find his secondary kill switch because he wanted to kill his motor before he hit the ground, and that led to him not really flaring and not controlling his flight to the very end. And he was on a fairly hot reflex wing, trimmed out if you notice. So that's what happened. He plowed into the ground because he was trimmed out and didn't really flare.
Yeah, and in case anyone doesn't know, like if your motor doesn't die or you can't kill it or whatever the case is, flare enough to land, but don't flare enough to stall it behind you. You could just let it fall.
Yeah, exactly that. So all you have to do is just make sure your wing doesn't get caught in your propeller and you're golden, which would mean either let it crash in front of you or try to stall out behind you and turn around, protect the propeller. And then once you're on the ground, figure out that kill switch. And in the moment, I'm sure, I can't speak because I haven't been in that situation, but I'm sure it's like information overload and you don't really know what you're gonna do until it happens to you. But it's good to look at situations like this and try to train yourself ahead of time of the priorities of what you would need to do. All right, so that's it for this Reacting to Crash video series. Thank you, Jacqueline, for being my co-host. And make sure you guys check out the merch on the website. Get your entry in before July 13th. I guess we will see you guys in the next episode. Hopefully we get some good weather coming soon and we can actually go flying. Bzz.